internationally known.
When I be on the mic,
I'm internationally known, yo. I'm internationally known.
when I be on the mic,
So all hail the honorable. I'm internationally known.
when I be on the mic,
I'm internationally known, yo. I'm internationally known.
when I be on the mic,
So all hail the honorable. I'm internationally known.
when I be on the mic.
I'm internationally known.
Welcome to the Being Neo podcast, episode 14. I mean, my goodness, they're just going to keep coming, people. So listen, I just want to say this first and foremost. You guys have made it to episode 14, and so I know you realize that sometimes I'm a little bit more on task and on topic than other times, and sometimes my stories are just so far off in left field and then so far off in right field that I decided I really like the questions and answers. I feel like it gives me a little bit more, I don't know, direction, but more importantly, I think it makes it a little bit more interesting for you guys, the listener, so that you're not, I don't know, traveling through the crazy webs that is my mind. That said, I really did like the format of the last episode where I went through some of the questions, kind of gave you guys some insights, my background, my perspective on those things, etc. And so we're going to continue with that today. However, my birthday is tomorrow. This episode will be dropping right now as you're listening to it on my birthday. And so for that reason, I know you're asking. If you're watching the video, you're probably like, how old is this guy? Maybe he's in his 20s? No. I'm 40. I'll be 42. I will be 42 momentarily. That said, I wanted to kind of do a more over 40s type video. And the next few videos in this series that I've come up with in terms of these questions are going to be things that kind of help you get a better idea of who you're listening to. I know I've done the Meet Neo, but the reality is there is so much more about my mindset, who I am, how I view things, and obviously we'll continue to kind of unpack that. You'll learn a little bit more about me in those regards as the episodes continue. But I also wanted to kind of bring you up to speed a little bit faster by having some direct questions where you can glean some insights into who I am and how I think. Because I really hope to inspire you to adjust your thinking, not so that it's similar to my own, but that it's open to whoever you are, to discovering that, to learning, to adjusting, to changing, and to being your Neo, whatever that means new in your life. That said, before we get any more into the subjective nature that is my mind, we're going to roll out with a fact. Okay, so the fact today, because again, we're doing over 40, right? So I wanted to know how many entrepreneurs start a business after 40 years old. Like, is that something that's common? Is it something that only crazy people do? Like, where are we at on that spectrum? So, although business owners come in all ages, according to NBCS, 35% of entrepreneurs and small business owners are in the 50 to 59 age bracket, followed by 40 to 49 year olds. Okay, so in fact, the total composition is about 60% of people who start small businesses are between the ages of 40 and 60. 60%. That is crazy. And this is this is May 7th of this year, 2024. So I don't know when you're listening to this, but as of today, June 2nd, 2024, this was a month ago. May 7th, 2024, less than a month ago. Crazy to me. So 60%. Cool. I really, I like that. So for this one, for this episode, we're going to talk life after 40. As an entrepreneur, my life is definitely different than I ever imagined it. Like, hands down. I'm going to go into the questions, but I feel like I should just jump into the questions because maybe it's going to ask me these things. Okay. So I'll just follow the questions. See, this is what happens. I get off topic because I start thinking, well, maybe I should just share this. Let's just see what the questions are. So, all right. So again, I went to ChatGPT and, I gave it some topics of things I wanted to discuss. And over the next few episodes, we're going to have this type of manner of these questions, me responding to them and going from there. So First question is, what inspired you to pursue entrepreneurship after 40? Well, I did not pursue entrepreneurship after 40. I started pursuing entrepreneurship at 12. At 12. And the reason why was because my dad was a business owner. My parents were business owners my entire life. That's what I've always seen and known. And at 12 years old, I wanted to buy a hat. It was a leather Georgetown hat. Man, I cannot even believe this. At the Atias flea market. For any of the people that are listening to me right now from the Long Island, New York area, shout out to Long Island, New York and the Atias flea market. But at 12 years old, I wanted to buy this Georgetown Hoyas hat. And it was all leather. It was $20. And at this point in time, $20 was a lot of money for a hat. So my mother looked at me and was like, yeah, you could buy this hat when you have $20. Like a week later, it snowed. I want to say this was 96. I don't know, was I 12 at 96? Somebody do the math. But all of that said, I remember thinking, okay, cool, I need to get this hat. So, you know, I didn't know anything about business at the time, right? I'm just thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to shovel driveways and make the money to buy the hat. So I went to this one lady's house who had the longest driveway on my block, and I offered to shovel it for $20 because that was the cost of the hat. And she agreed. And it was the worst decision of my life because the driveway was huge. And I probably should have charged like $50, but I was just trying to get the hat. So that was like my first dabble into understanding the freedom of, if you need money, you can work and get money. So that's what kind of brought me into it. But then, you know, as far as like, you know, that brought me into being a personal trainer, selling cars. I've always had the how to generate revenue kind of mindset. But later in life, my second marriage, I wanted some flexibility, and at the time we wanted to leave where I was. I was currently in corporate America, crushing it, but we wanted to move closer back to her family, where her family was located. And so when we did that, I took a job more kind of like consulting for a small company, and that did not go the way I thought it would. And so I was just like, yeah, okay, we're just going to do full-time entrepreneurship. And from there, I already had businesses established, but I really at that point was like, okay, these are no longer going to be side hustles. We're going to work them full time. And that was, again, the necessity of liberty, but also understanding, hey, when you need to generate revenue and you need money, you can do that. So that's really kind of what, I don't know, pushed me to do it, but not necessarily after 40. Okay, so I love this question. Neo, how do you balance work and personal life as a midlife entrepreneur? Well, let me just tell you this. If you are an entrepreneur, there is no such thing as balance. Balance is for people that want to be average. If you'd like to be average, try to balance everything in your life. If you want to be successful, stop trying to balance anything and run 110% in the direction of success in whatever that is. Diet, nutrition, your business, your brand, raising your kids. I don't care what it is. People that say balance to me are just asking to be mediocre. I mean, that is actually what balance is, right? It's taking the left and the right and making them equal, in which case there is no direction achieved. So I don't think I do achieve balance. I do work really hard. I work really hard, but I also play really hard. When I go out, I go out, and I'm not looking to see when the sun is coming up. It doesn't really matter, and I may not go to sleep, and I may just start working right after. Okay, that's the type of person I am. And when I work, I'm working. I don't care what's going on. I don't have a FOMO. I'm not trying to figure out what everyone else is doing. I am focused on what I need to do for my brands and businesses. I have a very high level of responsibility for employees. And as an entrepreneur, once you start having people work for you, it's your responsibility to feed them. And so if I don't eat, my employees are going to eat. That's the position I take. And so, yeah, there is no balance. It's just grind all the time. And when I have the chance to relax and unplug, I stop and I have a great time. So that's that. Okay. What are the biggest challenges you faced as an entrepreneur over 40, and how did you overcome them? Oh my goodness. Well, there's no way I could answer this question without talking about the pandemic. The pandemic for me was huge. It was a huge problem. I think for everyone that was a business owner, everyone that still is a business owner, the impacts of the pandemic are still being felt. I mean, 100%. So at the time, I owned a recruiting firm. And the recruiting firm during the pandemic was nothing but a headache. I mean, just hands down, it was nothing but a headache. It didn't matter what type of softwares I involved, what I did, how I changed, how I adjusted, changing. It was ridiculous. It was tough, and it's still tough. And so, trying to navigate, well, you have these employees, you're not bringing in the revenue that you need to. What do you do? How do you do it? And how do you stay afloat? That was, still is, one of the things that's challenging. I have closed that agency, and I had a marketing agency that I had built. And the marketing agency, because I built it so heavy with recruiters, for the last year and a half has been tough. And having people pay late and make promises to pay because they're still in recruiting, and it's tough for them. So, it's still a challenge. For me, the biggest way and the biggest obstacle in terms of financial stagnant from people that owe and pay late and pay slow and all those things has been diversifying my revenue sources. Really being able to look at and understand drop shipping and the other aspects of brand management, brand creation, brand growth, social media management, influence, etc. really allowed me to kind of diversify and understand just how necessary that was because of the pandemic and the situation I found myself in that regard. So that's by far the hardest, and how I navigated that by diversifying revenue sources. All right, 4. How has your previous experience in corporate America influenced your entrepreneurial journey? Man, that is great. I think being in corporate America for as long as I was, and I consider myself corporate America from roughly 99 until 2019, 2018. So, 19 years. Just shy of the 20-year mark of doing corporate America. What I loved about corporate America was its objective nature of reporting. Reporting numbers, statistics, valuations, value propositions, understanding the nitty-gritty behind the numbers, whether or not it was a good idea to release a product line, a bad idea, what sales needed to be generated, how those sales statistically were going to be generated based on how many times somebody was seen, visited, etc., and all the things in between that were able to create statistical information to allow you to figure out what you needed to do to replicate and duplicate similar results. That for me is what I loved about corporate America. What I didn't love is the subjective nature that these numbers would become, valuable, or aspects of consideration for evaluating a process or procedure or a statistic. That for me drove me nuts. I think it was a lot of people pushing pens, looking at subjective data that was subjective because they put their own subjectivity in it. It's one thing to have objective numbers because this is how many times this person's been visited. But you don't know if the messaging is the reason that this person took said action, if it was the frequency. There was just too much subjectivity in, okay, well, this person was seen and this was the result, so this must be what happened. And those kind of things drove me nuts because I don't think people took the time to look at the very next level or the very next layer at possible solutions, possible understandings of how to become even more efficient, those kind of things. The best part, statistically saying just do this because that's always been the case statistically, and here we are today, so it must have worked, so let's just keep doing it. That drives me absolutely insane. I think that corporate America allowed me to see the necessity of objectivity in the subjective nature of things that I had a desire to do. Meaning looking at it, is this going to be profitable and something that should be started? What does this sales cycle look like? How am I going to build out the marketing for this? Understanding the value of this within the industry, within all the different things in terms of brand management. Just all of the things that corporate America does based on the fact that there are other people that are watching, looking, and holding you accountable has allowed me to use that same level of accountability when it comes to my own business practices. All right, 5. What strategies do I use to stay motivated and focused on my goals? I live my life openly. I live my life fully. I'm recording this right now in Medellin, Colombia. because of the freedom, the desire to continue pursuing my life in any part of the world whenever I want to be there, I'm very motivated to continue making money, because if you don't have money, you just can't. And even when you have money, it can be very difficult at times depending on different things and what countries and just all of the things. So I'm always very motivated to continue growing. The other thing is that I really love working with people. From a marketing aspect, the brand has always been, helping small businesses morph into large brands. That's been the thing. From coaching perspective, nutrition coaching, fitness as a personal trainer, that aspect has always been helping people achieve that goal. I mean, listen, I used to cut hair to get through college. And even in cutting hair, for me, it was always like, hey, let's get you a date. And I'm going to hook you up with the perfect haircut so you can look your best possible to pursue whatever it is you're trying to pursue, right? Like, the aspect of me trying to lock arms and help other people has always also been a motivating factor. I mentioned the employees and making sure that I recognize and understand that they don't eat if I don't pay them, that aspect is real. But more than that, it's also the people that I work with, the business that I have, the reason why I do coaching, the reason why I create, the 360 program. This is not a shameless plug, but honestly, the 360 program has been a reflection of the things I've learned in my 42 years of life in losing 150 pounds and being able to create these successful brands and businesses, in understanding what I need to do, how I manage to stay motivated, focused on my goals. How do I do that? And how do I take all of these things that I've learned about myself and then share them with you? Well, part of it is here in the podcast, but part of it is in the coaching. When I get to take the time and work with people one-on-one and ask them what they're doing, how they got there, and learn about them, and then help them implement some of the bumpers in life so that they can do what they're looking to do and do it well. Especially now, 40 to 60% starting new businesses. Guys, we don't have time to waste. I don't believe, and I've always lived my life, that tomorrow could be my last day, or today could be my last day for that matter. But at the same time, after 40, you don't have time to mess around. Like, you should be working to do whatever it is you're trying to do as efficiently as possible. All right, question 6. How do I manage stress and maintain mental health while running a business? Well, I run multiple businesses, and one, I work out 7 days a week, and there's usually always one day that something goes crazy and I can't make it to the gym. But I'm consistently in the gym 6 or 7 days every single week. And I don't think that relieves stress. What that does is take stress off of my mind, out of my mind, and place it on my body. But in doing so, it allows me to feel a little bit more at ease and take the tension that I carry around out on weights. That's one. I meditate multiple times a day. I cannot stress enough. Meditation is super, super, super important. For me, depending on my stress level for the day will depend on how many times I meditate. And at a minimum, I'm meditating before I get out of bed, and I'm meditating before I go to sleep. So that's a minimum every day, twice. But depending on the stress and how many phone calls, contacts, depending on the people that I'm coaching and how heavy the conversations are, it's not absurd for me to have meditated 10 times in one day. On like a normal day. So there's that. Meditation for me has been a huge thing. And then obviously my diet and the way that I eat has a great deal of impact on how I can deal with how my central nervous system deals with the stress of the coaching, the sleeping, the business, all of it. So, that's another way. My diet is super, super important in me being able to do that. And honestly, like in terms of my performance, my ability to think through, create solutions to the problems that I have, manage the stress load, me being able to have a protein dominant diet, eating carnivore, is something I don't think I'd be able to be the same level entrepreneur I am, if it weren't for that, hands down. That's like it's a huge thing. I feel like I don't want to turn this into, an episode where I'm talking nutrition all over again, but my goodness. Even if I think about some of the nights where, I've got calls in Germany and Australia, and I'm trying to figure out time to get sleep. And it's like, okay, well, I guess 2 hours is going to be it. But then I have a full day after that, and can run and feel good and feel energetic, can record a podcast like this at almost midnight on a Sunday and not feel lethargic, not feel tired, not feel like my brain is foggy. I mean, man, yeah. If you're an entrepreneur, I don't care how successful you are. Maybe you're crushing it. Maybe you're not at all. But if your diet is not on point, like 100% on point, you need to hit me up because, man, it is a game changer. Eating properly to fuel, and I mean that, like I'll change and adjust what I need to, depending on how many meetings a certain week, depending on what my sleep schedule I know is going to be messed up. There's like a next level. It's almost like doing the entrepreneur game on cheat code. Seriously. So, I mean, click the link. You absolutely, we need to go through that. Even if you just want me to tweak your nutrition for a month. But we should do that. Okay, sorry. It's so passionate about that because it really is so real. 7. What role does networking play in your entrepreneurial success and how do you approach it? I hate networking. I hate networking. I hate networking. I hate networking. I think I made that clear. Okay. The reason I hate networking is because it doesn't do anything for you, not the way it used to. I am very old school in the fact that I'd say pick up the phone and call people. I am a very, very much into make phone calls, call. I'm an old school sales guy. And very much into the networking aspect of that, old school. I am constantly reminding myself that nobody wants you to call them. Nobody wants you to call them. Okay? You don't want your mom to call you. You'd rather her send you a text message. I'm talking to you. You don't want your mom to call you. You'd rather her send you a text message, and then you could dictate when you want to respond, the tone at which you'll respond, and how long is a justifiable amount enough time before you do. Nobody wants that anymore, right? So when I think about networking, what is the networking really supposed to do for you? Because if you're managing your social media properly, if you thought about how to connect with your current target base with social media, networking is not going to do that for you. Now, in terms of creating solutions or other brands or things of that nature, even with that, I'd say no. Because if you drill your target market down, if you do some social media A/B testing on what you're putting out there and find out who's interacting with it, what your interaction skews are, you can get all the statistics you need from your social media platform to dictate a marketing strategy without having to network with anyone. I am lost to understand, unless you're like a car manufacturer or a manufacturer in general, where having different parts being made elsewhere for your created product makes sense. Networking to me just doesn't do it anymore. Even in recruiting. I mean, so sorry. I know somebody was like wanting me to say, no, networking is amazing. It's the only way. Yeah, not a huge fan. You can leverage the power of social media way more than you could the conferences and conventions that people still go to. It's crazy to me. Okay, question 8. How do you leverage your life experiences to grow your business? Man, how do I leverage my life experiences to grow my business? My businesses are an exact reflection of my life. 100%. 100%. I have a coach, I have a therapist. Me coaching and wanting to help people navigate the things that people help me navigate is a direct correlation of my life and my businesses. My canine everything that I do has been a reflection of something that I needed to learn, overcome, master, become an expert in, or something related in that regard. And so I think that for me has always been, me finding interest in the things that I love and then finding out how to turn that into something that will keep me consistently going towards it, whether that be success in it or making money in it or, diversifying it or growing it just to grow it. Those kind of things excite me. So I think for me, having everything that I do connect to life makes it easier to want to grow my business because I'm growing in life. I also think, Neo is my reflection and outlook on life. I'm always trying to look at things with a new perspective, with a new outlook as a new opportunity. And for me and my businesses, it's the same thing. I'm always looking for a new way to attract others greater than the scope that we're currently focused on to the brand. I'm always trying to figure out how can we create a more efficient way of mailing, distributing, contacting, problem solving, pricing, sourcing, just all of the things. How can I more effectively and more efficiently share social media, create content, get people to want to engage with said content, understand what it is that our clients, target audience want. All of those things are a reflection of my life, how I live it, how I'm looking, how I stay in a very humble mindset of humility and ignorance, because I constantly want to learn. And I think that the more and more as an entrepreneur, especially over 40 years old, that we can leverage understanding our youth and the kids that are doing it, because the reality is that's where everybody's focused. Everyone's attention is focused on kids. Everyone's attention is focused on kids. So if you can pay attention to how kids are taking in attention, wanting attention, creating attention, you'll have a better way of leveraging your business and understanding the trends before they're trends that are already late to follow. And I seriously mean that. You should be looking at and understanding our youth, the teenagers, how they speak, how they're sharing on social media, what it is that they're sharing, because those are the things that influence and dictate what's popular and what's working and how it's working. So there's that. Okay, 9. What advice would you give to someone considering starting a business after 40? Hire a coach. Seriously. You want to start a business after 40 years old, hire a coach. It doesn't have to be me, but I would absolutely tell you to hire someone to help you, because time is of the essence. And as I said before, you have got to want to maximize efficiency. And I think one of the biggest struggles of any entrepreneur when they launch something that they've never done before, they're doing something they haven't done before. And let me just make this clear. I don't care if you have been a XYZ person for the last 20 years and now you're going into business on your own. If you have not gone into business on your own and you have not owned this business on your own before, trust me when I tell you it's different. Even when I launch a new brand, I'm leveraging the expertise and advice of other people that own similar brands on how I'm going to roll out said brand. So it's very important that you understand they're two very different things. And so hire a coach, because you want to be able to be more efficient. And it's not just about your business. More efficient in your life and how you're doing life. How much time do you waste? How much time can you create to do the things that you need? Is there a way to combine the two? There's so much to that. The nutrition aspect of it. Are you in a position to be able to handle the stress of starting a new business? Have you looked at that? All of the different things. Is your mind open to what's being done now differently than how you expect? That's my number one advice on that, is get some help outside of yourself as soon as humanly possible so that you can be as efficient as possible. All right, and 10. How do you foresee the future of entrepreneurship for those over 40? How do I foresee the future of it? I foresee the future of entrepreneurship for those over 40 as grim. I don't think that there's enough people over the age of 40 willing to be extremely uncomfortable in their pursuit of their dream. I think that when I look at my peers at 40 years old, they are more terrified of being uncomfortable than the younger generation. And I guess that's always the case, right? Like, as we get older, we gain a little bit more fear. And I don't know if that fear is common sense or just experience or just the callous of life, right? But I know even for myself personally, when I want to take certain opportunities, man, the risk evaluation for me is high. When previously I would just jump in. And part of that is the efficiency aspect, right? Like, I don't have the 40 years that just passed. And so I want to make sure I'm doing exactly what I can now as efficiently as possible. But at the same time, I've got to take risks. I have to. Because the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. That's always the case. It's always the case. And so I do my best to, again, neo means new, in every outlook and every aspect and opportunity that I see to take a new perspective on it outside of my own. And then look towards the younger generation and how they would approach it, do it, or value said thing to see if it's worth it. Because that's it. The other thing I would say is the future for 40-year-old and older entrepreneurs is what we as 40-year-olds and older make it. But you have to make it. And I just see more and more people my age getting so complacent and comfortable. Even if you're a business owner, I see you as the business owner, 45 years old, 53 years old, comfortable. That's why you're trying to sell your business and it hasn't sold yet. That's why you haven't made the money you ever thought you were going to make, and you've been waiting to have that really big year, and a big year hasn't happened. Like, there's so many reasons and so deep down the rabbit hole we can go as to how many people are business owners and not achieving the potential that the business has because they're stuck in their mindset and they're chasing being comfortable. I don't care what aspect of anything I talk about in life. I'm telling you, for me, being uncomfortable has been the catalyst to my success in all of it. Math was one of my strongest subjects in school and also in college. I was in math club. The year prior to being in math club and excelling in math, I was failing it miserably. And it was an extremely uncomfortable process. Shout out Professor Goodwin in helping me learn it, understand it, and master it. So if you want to be an entrepreneur over 40, get some help, get a coach, and master it. Don't try to do it in some kind of balance. Well, I want to try to balance this with that, because you can't. You need to go 100% at whatever it is. But, maybe have that conversation. I mean, you can talk to me and I'll tell you if I think it's a good idea, or connect you with someone I think will give you a better idea or insight into whatever it is. But just lock arms with someone sooner than later and get that business going. All right, you guys do not have tomorrow. Tomorrow's not promised for any of us. So if there is something that you'd like to start, if there's something that you've been wanting to do it. Like right now, I mean that. And I don't care what it is that you're trying to do right now in your business, whatever path you're trying to take. Don't think that you have to network with other people to do it. People may not believe in whatever it is that you want to do. Do it alone, but do it, because you can leverage social media, I promise you, to attract your clientele, the perfect customer for your brand, just by leveraging social media, and it costs nothing. I mean, time. But that said, guys, that's it. That is my recommendation. Those are my thoughts on those questions. And I feel like this allows me to give you guys some quality time. It stays kind of on point, on topic. I still get to share my mind with you and the thought processes and ways I digest things and encourage you. So this is me saying, listen, my life is challenging. It's tough, but I have never been happier. I have never felt more at peace and with more freedom than I have ever had before in me being who I am, embracing that, loving that, living it, and being able to share that with the world, with you. So my recommendation is pursue your dreams, because they're not going to wait for you, and you never know when your last day is. So whatever you're doing right now, if you're dreaming of something to do, start it, implement it, create the website, create the email address, write it down on paper, write the mission statement. I don't care if it's on a cocktail napkin and you're listening to this on your lunch break right now. Make the dream a reality. One step at a time, one piece of reality at a time. Make your dream real. All right, love, peace, and hair grease. Episode 14 is in the books. I cannot wait to share these next episodes with you as we continue to kind of have this format. I'm going to get more guests on, but I just need to understand, listen, I'm not very happy with the first guest experience. I feel like there was a lot more that could have come out of that. And I don't want to just have guests on to have guests on. So I'm going to go through these questions. There are some guests that I've been out there, I've asked, we'll see. As we create those things, this is going to give me some time for you guys, the listeners, to leverage, ask questions, leave comments, and for me to kind of share a little bit more about my outlook, my mindset, who I am, how I got to this point. And as we continue down the journey, I promise you guys some guests that will continue to help expand my mind, your mind, and everyone else that listens. So thank you guys so much. If you like it, if it resonated, if it answered some questions for you that you had interest in, if it changed your outlook and perspective on anything, which I hope it did, please share it with somebody, because that's the only way we're going to get Alicia Keys on the podcast. You think I forgot. Take it easy. Thanks so much. Peace.